I never thought the worst enemy I'd face wouldn't be in Baghdad or Kandahar, but sitting across from me at our kitchen table in Tacoma, Washington, on a Thursday morning in October. My wife of 18 years, the woman I'd trusted with everything, looked me in the eyes and said she wanted an open marriage. I'm Michael Brennan. I'm 52 years old, a retired Marine Corps Master Sergeant, and this is the story of how I discovered that sometimes the people you'd take a bullet for are the ones holding the gun. It was 7:15 in the morning. I remember because I'd just finished my run, 5 miles like clockwork every day since I enlisted at 19. 33 years of discipline doesn't just disappear when you retire. I was pouring coffee when Rebecca came downstairs wearing that silk robe I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. She looked nervous. Not scared nervous, but excited nervous, like someone about to jump out of a plane for the first time. "Michael, we need to talk about us, about our marriage." I set down my coffee cup. My heart rate spiked the way it used to before patrol, that same electric feeling crawling up my spine. "Sure, Becca. What's going on?" She sat down across from me, folding her hands on the table. "I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about last month, about how you want us to be more honest with each other, about not hiding things. Last month I'd opened up to her about my therapy sessions at the VA, about how I was working through some PTSD stuff, learning to communicate better, trying to be more emotionally available. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, had told me that vulnerability wasn't weakness. That after 3 decades of military conditioning, I needed to relearn how to connect with people, especially my wife. So I'd been trying, really trying. "I do want honesty," I said. "Always." "Good, because I want to be honest with you about something I need." She took a breath. "I want us to open our marriage. I want to see other people. And I want you to have that freedom too." The world tilted sideways. I actually felt dizzy, like someone had hit me with a flashbang. "What? Rebecca, where is this coming from?" She'd been ready for this. I could tell by the way she immediately launched into what sounded like a rehearsed speech. "I've been doing research, Michael. Ethical non-monogamy is more common than people think. It doesn't mean we love each other less. It means we're mature enough to acknowledge that one person can't meet all of another person's needs. We can still be primary partners, still share our life, but have the freedom to explore connections with others." I felt like I was back in that Afghan village in 2009, watching the ground for IEDs, knowing something was wrong, but not seeing it yet. "How long have you been thinking about this?" "A few months." She looked down. "Maybe 6 months." 6 months. While I was in therapy learning to be a better husband, she'd been planning this. "Have you already met someone?" "No." Her answer came too quick. "I mean, not seriously. I've just been thinking about it." Not seriously meant yes. I knew my wife. 19 years together, 18 married. I could read her tells better than any enemy combatant. When did it start? I kept my voice level. This was reconnaissance now, gathering intel. Rebecca's face flushed. "There's a guy at work. David. He's in marketing. We've gotten close. We talk a lot. He understands things about me that you've been deployed so much, Michael. 23 years of active service. I miss so much of our life together. I know you did, and I'm not blaming you. You served our country, but I'm 45 years old, and I feel like I'm just waking up to who I am, what I want. David makes me feel seen." The knife twisted deeper. "And what do I make you feel?" "Safe, secure. You make me feel safe." She reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "I don't want to lose that, Michael. I don't want to lose you. I just want more." "How far has it gone with David?" "We've had coffee a few times, lunch. We went to a concert last month. You told me you were going with Stephanie from your book club." "I was. Stephanie introduced me to David. She's been seeing someone too. Her husband knows. They've been open for 2 years and they're happier than ever, so this is a whole thing, a whole group of you." Rebecca nodded. "It's more common than you think, especially in Seattle. People are evolving past traditional relationship structures." I stood up and walked to the window. Our backyard looked the same as it had yesterday. Same maple tree I'd planted when we moved here 8 years ago after my last deployment. Same fence I'd built with my own hands. Same garden Rebecca had stopped tending 6 months ago, right around when she'd met David. "What if I say no?" She was quiet for a moment. "Then I guess I have to decide what I need more." Your permission or my happiness? There it was. The real IED, she'd already decided. This wasn't a request, it was a notification. I need time to think, I said. Of course. Take all the time you need. She stood up and kissed my cheek. I love you, Michael. This doesn't change that. She went upstairs. I heard the shower start. I sat back down at the kitchen table and stared at my coffee until it went cold. I didn't go to my workshop that day. Usually I'd spend mornings out there building furniture. Woodworking had become my therapy after retirement. Something about taking rough lumber and turning it into something beautiful, something useful, kept me grounded. But that day, I just drove. I ended up at Point Defiance Park, sitting on a bench overlooking Puget Sound, watching the ferries cross the water. My phone rang around noon. It was Tommy Rodriguez, my old platoon sergeant. We'd served 3 tours together. He'd retired 2 years before me, and now ran a security consulting business in Denver. Brennan, you old bastard. I'm going to be in Seattle next week. Want to grab a beer? Sure, I said. My voice must have given something away, because Tommy's tone changed immediately. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm fine. Bullshit. I've known you for 24 years. What happened? Rebecca wants an open marriage. The silence stretched out. Then Tommy said, She already sleeping with someone? I think so. Here's Guy from her work. Jesus. I'm sorry, brother. What are you going to do? I don't know. You want my advice? Always. Protect yourself. Document everything. Get a lawyer. And whatever you do, don't agree to something that's going to destroy you just because you love her. Love is supposed to build you up, not tear you down. After we hung up, I sat there for another hour. A woman probably in her 70s sat down on the other end of the bench. She had short white hair and wore a University of Washington sweatshirt. She fed breadcrumbs to the seagulls for a while, then looked over at me. You look like you're carrying the weight of the world, young man. Some days feel heavier than others. She nodded. I lost my husband 3 years ago. 47 years we were married. What I wouldn't give for one more day of carrying weight together. Even the heavy days. What made it work for 47 years? We chose each other. Every single day, even the hard ones. Especially the hard ones. She gathered her bag. Whatever you're going through, remember that love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice you make over and over. If someone stops choosing you, no amount of your choosing them will fix it. She walked away, leaving me with her seagulls and her wisdom. I went home around 4 in the afternoon. Rebecca was in the living room, laptop open, video call in progress. I heard her laugh, saw the way her face lit up. She noticed me and quickly said goodbye, closing the laptop. That was David. She hesitated, then nodded. We were just talking about a project. Right. I'm going to head to the workshop for a while. Michael, please. Can we talk about this? What's there to talk about? You've made your decision. You're choosing him. That's not fair. I'm not choosing him over you. I'm choosing myself. I walked out before I said something I'd regret. In my workshop, I put on my safety glasses and fired up the table saw. For the next 4 hours, I lost myself in wood and noise and the smell of sawdust. I was building a bookshelf for our daughter Lily's apartment. She was 23, living in Portland, finishing her master's degree in social work. She didn't know her mother was blowing up our family. I planned to keep it that way as long as possible. That night, Rebecca made dinner. Salmon, asparagus, rice, my favorite. We ate in silence. She kept looking at me like she wanted to say something. Finally, she did. I talked to Stephanie today. She gave me the name of a couples counselor who specializes in alternative relationship structures. I think it could help us navigate this. You've really thought this through, I have. Because I love you and I want this to work, this meaning you sleeping with David while I what? Sit at home and pretend I'm okay with it? You could see other people too. I don't want other people. I want my wife. I want the woman who married me. The woman who promised forsaking all others. We were kids when we made those promises, Michael. We didn't know who we'd become. Speak for yourself. I know exactly who I am. I'm a man who keeps his promises, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. So what, we just stay miserable? You're miserable? This was news to me. Since when? Since you retired. You're around all the time now. You're always watching me, analyzing me like I'm one of your missions. I can't breathe. I gave her space. I'm in the workshop most days. I go to the VA twice a week. I run every morning. How is that smothering you? It's not what you do. It's the way you look at me, like I'm supposed to be something I'm not. What are you supposed to be? Free. I want to feel free. I stood up and cleared my plate. Then be free, Becca. Do whatever you need to do. But don't ask me to pretend it doesn't kill me. Don't ask me to watch you fall in love with someone else and smile about it. I slept in the guest room that night, and the next night, and the next. By Monday, Rebecca had moved into what she called the exploration phase. She went out Tuesday evening, said she was meeting David for dinner. She came home at 11:30. I was in the living room, couldn't sleep. How was it? I asked. She looked surprised that I was still up. It was nice. We talked. Just talked? Yes, Michael, just talked. I nodded. There were 47 new rules I didn't understand. 47 new ways to feel like a stranger in my own marriage. I called Tommy on Wednesday. I need a lawyer recommendation. Someone who understands military pensions, deployment time, the whole 9 yards. He gave me a name. Jennifer Walsh, former JAG officer, now in private practice in Seattle. She's tough as nails and fair as they come. She'll take care of you. I called Jennifer Thursday morning. She could see me Friday afternoon. When I walked into her office in downtown Seattle, she stood up and shook my hand with a grip that would make a drill sergeant proud. Master Sergeant Brennan, thank you for your service. Sit down and tell me what's going on. I laid it all out. The open marriage request, David. The 6 months of planning while I was in therapy trying to be a better husband. Jennifer took notes, her face neutral, but her eyes sharp. Has she moved money around? Opened new accounts, made any large purchases? Not that I know of. We need to check. I need you to pull together all your financial documents. Bank statements, credit cards, investment accounts, pension information, everything. I want to see the last 2 years. Do you think she's been planning this longer than 6 months? I think people don't usually wake up one day and ask for an open marriage unless they've been thinking about it for a while. Or unless they've already done something they feel guilty about and they're trying to retroactively justify it. Jennifer leaned forward. Here's what I need you to understand, Michael. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, which means her affair, if she's having one, doesn't matter legally. What matters is assets, debts, and how we protect your interests. I don't want to divorce her. I want to save my marriage. Jennifer's face softened. I understand. But hoping for the best and preparing for the worst aren't mutually exclusive. Get me those documents. If things improve, great. If they don't, you'll be ready. I spent the weekend gathering paperwork. Rebecca was out most of Saturday. Said she was running errands. When she came home at 7, her hair was different, styled. She was wearing makeup. I hadn't seen her wear makeup on a Saturday in 3 years. Where were you? Around. I grabbed dinner with David. We went to that new place on 6th Avenue. On a Saturday night. Like a date. It was just dinner, Michael. She kicked off her shoes. Are you going to interrogate me every time I leave the house? I'm just trying to understand what our marriage looks like now. It looks like trust. Something we apparently don't have anymore. She went upstairs. I heard our bedroom door close. Not slam. Close. Somehow that was worse. Sunday morning, I went to Mass at St. Charles. I'm not particularly religious, but something about the ritual, the structure, the certainty of liturgy felt necessary. After the service, Father Pat caught me in the parking lot. Michael, good to see you. Haven't seen Rebecca in a while. She okay? She's fine. Just busy. He nodded slowly. I've been a priest for 38 years. I know when someone's carrying something heavy. If you ever want to talk, my door's open. Thank you, Father. I'll keep that in mind. I couldn't keep going like this. That much was clear. Monday morning, I asked Rebecca if she'd come to counseling with me. Not with the specialist in alternative relationship structures, with Dr. Chen at the VA. She agreed. We had an appointment Thursday afternoon. Dr. Chen was in her late 50s, originally from Taiwan, with a calm presence that had helped me through some of my darkest PTSD episodes. She welcomed us both into her office and got straight to it. Rebecca, Michael has been doing important work here, processing his military experiences and learning new communication tools. I understand you've asked to open your marriage. Can you tell me about that? Rebecca explained her reasoning, how she felt invisible during my deployments, how she'd built a life without me and now didn't know how to share space, how she'd met David and felt alive again in a way she hadn't in years. Dr. Chen listened without judgment. Then she turned to me. Michael, what do you need? I need her to choose me. I need to feel like I matter more than some guy she met 6 months ago. Dr. Chen nodded. Rebecca, what do you hear Michael saying? That he wants to control me, that he can't handle me being happy. No. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle but firm. He's saying he needs to feel valued in his marriage. He needs to know he's your priority. There's a difference between control and wanting to feel chosen. Can both things be true? Rebecca asked. Can I value Michael and also have connections with other people? Dr. Chen looked at her carefully. In my clinical experience, open marriages work when both partners authentically want that structure from a place of security and abundance. They fail when one partner wants it as a solution to dissatisfaction or as a way to test drive a new relationship while keeping the old one as a safety net. Which do you think is happening here? Rebecca was quiet. Then she said, I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know what I want. Then maybe the work isn't about opening the marriage. Maybe it's about figuring out what you actually want and whether this marriage is part of that vision. Dr. Chen looked at both of us. I want you both to go home and think about something. What would it take for each of you to feel genuinely happy in this marriage? Not comfortable, not secure, happy, alive. Can you answer that honestly? I went first. I'd be happy if I felt like I mattered to you again. If I felt like you wanted to be with me, not just coexisting in the same house. If I felt like you were choosing me. Rebecca took a longer time. Finally, she said, I'd be happy if I felt like I could be myself without judgment. If I felt like you saw me as a person, not just your wife. If I felt like I had permission to want more from life. More than me, I said. It wasn't a question. The session ended with homework. We were supposed to each write down what we loved about each other when we first met, what had drawn us together, what we'd lost. We drove home in silence. That night, I sat in my workshop with a blank piece of paper. Rebecca and I had met at a bar near Camp Pendleton in 2005. I was 26, she was 23. She was visiting a friend stationed there. I was 3 months back from my first Iraq deployment. She'd been wearing a green dress. She'd laughed at something her friend said, and I'd felt it in my chest. I remembered thinking she looked like hope, like proof that good things still existed in the world. I'd bought her a drink. We'd talked until the bar closed. She'd told me about her dream of being a photographer. I'd told her about growing up in West Virginia, about joining the Marines to escape poverty and find purpose. We'd gotten married 9 months later. I wrote that down, what I loved about her then, her optimism, her creativity, the way she saw beauty in everything, how safe she made me feel when the war was still in my head. What had we lost? I stared at the paper. We'd lost time. That was the obvious answer. 23 years of military service meant 23 years of separations, missed anniversaries, missed birthdays, phone calls that cut out, letters that took weeks, Lily growing up with me as a ghost who appeared between deployments bearing gifts and guilt. But it was more than time. We'd lost the ability to see each other. I'd become a checklist of responsibilities. She'd become a placeholder for normal, home, family, the life I was fighting for but never quite living. When had we stopped being Michael and Rebecca and become veteran and wife? Roles instead of people. I didn't write that down. I wasn't ready to see it on paper. The next morning, Rebecca was in the kitchen when I came in from my run. She'd made coffee. That was new. Or maybe it was old. Maybe she used to do that and I'd stopped noticing. Did you do the homework, she asked. Some of it, you? She nodded. Do you want to share? Not yet. Okay. We drank our coffee. She'd written on nice stationery. Her handwriting had always been beautiful. Part of the photographer's eye. Everything had to be aesthetic. Michael, I want to tell you something. I'm listening. I slept with David 3 weeks ago, before I asked you about opening the marriage. It happened and I felt so guilty that I convinced myself if I asked your permission to see him, it would somehow make it less of a betrayal. But it doesn't. I know that now. I cheated on you, and I'm sorry. The room tilted again, but this time I didn't feel surprised. I felt relieved, because now I knew. Now I could stop wondering and start deciding. Thank you for telling me. That's it. That's all you're going to say. What do you want me to say? That I'm angry? I am. that I'm hurt. I am. But mostly I'm tired, Becca. I'm tired of fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. I stood up. I'm going to stay at a hotel for a few days. I need space to think. Michael, wait. No. You wanted honesty and freedom. You've got both. Now I need to figure out what I want. I packed a bag and left before she could respond. I checked into a Holiday Inn near Joint Base Lewis McChord. It felt right somehow, being near base, near the familiar rhythms of military life. I called Jennifer Walsh from the hotel room. She asked about the affair, told me to document everything, save the text messages, write down the conversation while it was fresh, make a timeline of when I'd first suspected something. I did all of it mechanically, intel gathering, just another mission. Tommy called that evening. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, which was how I knew it was bad. When you're hurting so much that even Rodriguez doesn't crack jokes, you're in trouble. When I finished, he said, "Brother, I'm going to tell you something I learned the hard way. You can't love someone into loving you back. You can't sacrifice enough or change enough or be enough. If someone decides you're not what they want, nothing you do will change that." What did you do? When Maria left, I let her go. Hurt like hell for about 2 years. Then I met Rachel and realized I'd been trying so hard to keep someone who didn't want to be kept that I couldn't see the person who was actually choosing me every day. You think I should divorce her. I think you should stop setting yourself on fire to keep someone warm who's already left the room. I stayed at the hotel for 5 days. Rebecca called twice, texted more. The texts went from apologetic to angry to confused. By day 3, she was asking when I was coming home. By day 5, she said David had ended things, said it was too complicated. She wanted to try to fix our marriage. I sat on the hotel bed reading that text over and over. Part of me wanted to believe it, wanted to go home and pretend the last month hadn't happened. But I kept thinking about what that woman in the park had said. Love is choosing someone every day. Rebecca had stopped choosing me, and David ending things didn't mean she'd chosen me. It just meant her preferred option had closed. I texted back, "I need more time." On day 6, I went back to Dr. Chen alone. She could fit me in for an emergency session. I told her everything. The affair, the hotel, the texts. She listened and then asked, "What do you want, Michael?" Not what does Rebecca want. Not what should you want. What do you actually want? I want to stop feeling like I'm not enough. I want to stop competing with a fantasy version of life where she's happier without me. I want to matter to someone the way I thought I mattered to her. Do you think you can ever trust her again? I don't know. Can you be in a marriage without trust? You can. But should you? That's the question you need to answer. I went back to the hotel and pulled out Rebecca's homework assignment, the one about what she loved about me when we first met. She'd left it on the kitchen counter. I'd grabbed it on my way out without really thinking about it. I read it now for the first time. What I loved about Michael when we first met, he was so certain of himself. He knew who he was and what he stood for. He made me feel protected. He listened when I talked about my dreams. He believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He was home. What I've lost. The certainty. Now he seems lost. He's still protecting me, but I don't need protection. I need a partner. I need someone who sees me as an equal, not as something fragile to guard. I need to feel like I can make mistakes without disappointing him. I need room to breathe. I read it 3 times, and then I understood. She'd fallen in love with me because I was everything she wasn't. Strong, certain, directed. But she'd grown up. She'd spent 23 years raising our daughter alone, managing a household alone, building a career alone. She'd become strong and certain and directed. And I'd come home from retirement expecting to find the 23-year-old girl in the green dress who needed me. But that girl was gone. I called her. She answered on the first ring. "Michael. Hey, I read your homework." Oh, God. I forgot I left that out. It helped me understand. "I'm not coming home, Becca. Not right now. Michael, please. David ended things. I know I made a mistake, but we can fix this. Can we? Because I'm not sure I know how to fix something this broken." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I need time, real time, to figure out who I am outside of being your husband, to figure out if I even want to be married anymore." She started crying. "I don't want to lose you, I know, but I think you already did. 6 months ago when you met David. Maybe longer, maybe when I retired and became a person instead of a concept. Maybe we've been losing each other for years and we just didn't notice. So what now? Now I'm going to move into an apartment. I found a place near the base. Month-to-month lease, you're going to stay in the house, I'll keep paying the mortgage. We're going to take space, really take it. No contact unless it's necessary, and we're both going to figure out what we actually want. How long? I don't know. Months, maybe. You're leaving me, I'm choosing me just like you chose you. The difference is, I'm being honest about it. We hung up. I felt lighter than I had in weeks. I moved into the apartment the next day. 1 bedroom, furnished, nothing special, but it was mine. I set up my woodworking tools in the garage the landlord said I could use. I established a routine. Run, breakfast, workshop, lunch, VA appointment or errands, workshop again, dinner, read, sleep. Tommy flew out 3 weeks after I moved into the apartment. We grabbed dinner at a steakhouse near the waterfront. He looked good, tan, happy. Rachel was with him, his girlfriend of 2 years. She was a civilian contractor, smart and funny. She treated Tommy like he hung the moon, but didn't take any of his shit. That's the balance, I thought. That's what it's supposed to look like. You doing okay? Tommy asked after Rachel excused herself to take a call. Getting there. You talked to Rebecca? Not really. She texted a few times, asking how I am, asking if I'm ready to talk. I told her I'd let her know. Good. Don't rush it. You've got time. Rachel came back and we talked about Denver, about Tommy's business, about anything except my imploding marriage. It was exactly what I needed. After they left, I walked along the waterfront. It was November now. Cold. The kind of cold that gets into your bones. A text came through. Rebecca, Lily called today. She asked why we haven't done our family Thanksgiving planning yet. What should I tell her? My heart sank. Lily, our daughter, who still didn't know. Tell her we're figuring it out. We need to tell her. I know, not over text. I'll come by this weekend. We'll call her together. Okay, thank you. Saturday morning, I drove to the house. Our house. It didn't feel like mine anymore. Rebecca answered the door. She looked thinner, tired, dark circles under her eyes. She'd always been beautiful, but now she looked fragile. Come in. The place smelled like her perfume and coffee. Everything was exactly where it had been, like I'd never left. We sat in the living room. How are you? She asked. I'm okay. You? Not great. I miss you. I nodded. Didn't say anything back. Should we call Lily now? Yeah. Let's get it over with. We called together, phone on speaker between us. Lily answered on video chat. She was in her apartment, textbooks spread around her. Hey parents, what's up? We need to talk to you about something, Rebecca said. Lily's smile faded. She'd always been perceptive. What's wrong? Is someone sick? No one's sick, I said. But your mom and I are separating. We're taking time apart. Lily's face went white. What? Why? What happened? It's complicated, honey. Rebecca started. No. Lily's voice was sharp. Don't do that. Don't give me complicated. Tell me what happened. I looked at Rebecca. This was her story to tell if she wanted to, but she just looked down. We grew apart, I said. Sometimes people change and marriages don't keep up. We're trying to figure out if we can fix it or if we need to move forward separately. Lily was crying now. This is because of Dad's PTSD, isn't it? Because he's been in therapy and it's hard and you can't deal with it. No, Lily, Rebecca said quickly. No, this is not your father's fault. This is my fault. I made choices that hurt our marriage. I made mistakes. What kind of mistakes? I could hear the edge in Lily's voice, the protective tone she'd used since she was 6 years old, defending me on playgrounds, at parent-teacher conferences, anywhere someone suggested her dad might be broken because of the war. I had an affair, Rebecca said quietly. I slept with someone else. And I asked your father for an open marriage to try to justify it. The silence was devastating. Then Lily said, Get out of the frame, Mum. What? Get out of the frame. I want to talk to Dad alone. Rebecca stood up and walked away. I heard the kitchen door close. Lily waited until she was gone. Dad, are you okay? I'm getting there, sweetheart. How long have you known? About 6 weeks. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't want to burden you. You're finishing your degree. You've got enough to worry about. I'm 23, Dad. I'm not a kid. You should have told me. You're right. I'm sorry. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Are you going to forgive her? I don't know that either. Good. Her voice was fierce. Don't forgive her just because you think you're supposed to. Don't forgive her because of me or because you've been married forever. Forgive her if you actually can. If you can't, then don't. When did you get so wise? When I spent 23 years watching you leave and watching Mum try to pretend she was fine with it. I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit something isn't working. We talked for another hour. She made me promise to keep her updated, made me promise to take care of myself, told me she loved me no matter what I decided. After we hung up, Rebecca came back in. She'd been crying. Lily's angry. She'll get over it. Maybe. Rebecca sat down again. Did you mean what you said? About not knowing if you can forgive me? Yeah, I meant it. Michael, I don't know how to make this right. You can't make it right. You can only decide who you want to be from here. Do you still have feelings for David? She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Yes, but he doesn't want me. That's not the same as choosing me, Becca. That's just settling. I stood up. I'm going to go. Wait, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you still love me? I looked at my wife of 18 years, at the woman who'd promised to forsake all others, at the mother of my child, at the stranger sitting in front of me. I do. But I don't think I like you very much right now. And I don't trust you at all. Can you live with that? I think I have to. Because the alternative is living without you, and I don't know how to do that. Maybe that's something you need to learn. I left. December came. I didn't hear from Rebecca except for logistics about bills and the house. Lily came home for winter break and stayed with me in my apartment. She'd decided she was Team Dad, which I appreciated, but also tried to discourage. Your mom loves you, I told her. What she did to me doesn't change that. She betrayed you. She made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Not like that. Some mistakes you don't come back from. Maybe. Maybe not. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Christmas was strange. We did dinner at the house. Rebecca cooked. We sat around the table like a family and pretended everything was normal for Lily's sake. But it wasn't normal. I slept in the guest room, left first thing in the morning. On New Year's Eve, I was alone in my apartment. Tommy called at 11. You doing okay? Yeah, just thinking. About whether I'm doing this because I'm hurt or because I'm actually done. What's the difference? One heals, one doesn't. Which do you think it is? I think I'm done. I think the person I fell in love with doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe she does and she just doesn't love me back. Either way, I can't keep holding on to something that's already gone. So what are you going to do? Call my lawyer. File for divorce. Start over at 52 years old and figure out what the hell comes next. Sounds like you're choosing you, yeah. Guess I am. About damn time, brother. About damn time. I called Jennifer Walsh on January 2nd. She'd already prepared preliminary paperwork just in case. We filed on January 10th. Rebecca was served on January 14th. She called me 30 minutes after the process server left. You filed for divorce. Yeah, I did. Michael, I thought we were working on things. We were working on giving each other space. I gave us space. I figured out what I wanted. This isn't it. What about counseling? What about trying? I am trying, Becca. I'm trying to build a life where I don't feel like I'm not enough every single day. I'm trying to remember what it feels like to be chosen, and I can't do that while I'm waiting for you to decide if I'm worth choosing. So what? You're just giving up? I'm letting go. There's a difference. I don't want this. I know. But I do. And for the first time in this whole mess, what I want matters more than what you want. We hung up. The divorce process was cleaner than I expected. Washington's no-fault laws meant we didn't have to prove anything. We just had to divide assets and move on. The house would be sold, proceeds split. My military pension would be divided based on years of marriage versus years of service. My retirement accounts split. Her retirement accounts split. Everything we'd built together, cut down the middle like we'd never been one unit at all. Rebecca tried to reconcile twice during the process. Once in February, once in March. Both times I said no, not because I didn't still care about her, but because I'd finally learned the difference between loving someone and being willing to lose yourself for them. By April, it was done. Judge signed the papers. We were officially divorced on April 23rd. Exactly 18 years and 2 months after our wedding. Lily came up for the weekend. We didn't talk about the divorce. We just existed together, watched movies, cooked dinner, went for walks, being dad and daughter instead of casualties of a failed marriage. "You're doing better," she said on Sunday morning. "I am. You seem lighter." "I feel lighter, like I've been carrying something heavy for so long, I forgot what it felt like to stand up straight." "Good. You deserved better than what she gave you." "Maybe. Or maybe we both deserved better than what we became. Either way, it's done now. What are you going to do now?" "Live. Actually live instead of just surviving. Figure out who Michael Brennan is when he's not deployed and he's not married. Maybe I'll finally finish that boat I've been planning." "You're going to build a boat?" "Why not? I've got time. I've got space. I've got no one to tell me it's a bad idea." She laughed. "That's fair." "Dad?" "Yeah? I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For knowing when to hold on and when to let go. That's the hardest thing in the world." I hugged her. Wondered when she'd gotten so wise. Wondered how I'd raised such a strong, clear-eyed woman when I'd spent half her life being absent. Wondered if maybe I'd done something right after all. May came. I ran into Rebecca at the grocery store near our old house. She looked good, healthier than she had in months. We made awkward small talk. She was moving to Oregon in June. Closer to Lily. Fresh start. I told her I was happy for her. Meant it mostly. She asked if I was seeing anyone. I said no. Asked her the same. She said she was talking to someone. Not David. Someone new. From her photography class. I wished her well, meant that too. As I walked away, I realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Didn't feel hurt. Just felt like I'd survived something I wasn't sure I'd survive. Like coming home from deployment and realizing the war hadn't destroyed me after all. I just had to learn to live with the scars. In June, I started volunteering at the VA, peer counseling for other veterans going through divorces. Turned out there were a lot of us. Guys who'd come home to find their marriages had ended years ago. They just hadn't noticed until the uniforms came off. We sat in circles and talked about betrayal and resilience and starting over. I told them my story. Told them about Rebecca and David and the open marriage request. Told them about choosing myself. Told them about the boat I was building in my garage, piece by piece, learning as I went. Told them that some days I still missed her, missed the idea of who we'd been, but that I didn't miss the reality, didn't miss feeling invisible in my own marriage, didn't miss wondering if I was enough. One guy, younger, maybe 35, asked me if I regretted any of it. The marriage, the divorce, choosing to leave. I thought about it. No, I don't regret loving her. I don't regret trying. I don't regret staying as long as I did or leaving when I did. I regret that she couldn't love me the way I needed to be loved. But I can't regret trying to be happy. None of us should regret that. In July, I met someone. Her name was Angela. She worked at the VA as a physical therapist. 50 years old, divorced 8 years ago, 2 grown kids. We started talking in the break room. She'd served too, Army, combat medic in Desert Storm. She understood things without me having to explain. We went for coffee, then dinner, then a weekend trip to the San Juan Islands. It was easy in a way my marriage had never been easy. We both knew who we were, both knew what we wanted, both knew what we wouldn't tolerate. There was no game playing, no testing, just 2 people choosing each other clearly and simply. In August, Tommy and Rachel got engaged. They flew out to celebrate. The 4 of us had dinner overlooking Elliott Bay. Tommy raised his glass. To second chances, to choosing yourself, to finding someone who chooses you back. We drank to that, to all of that. September marked 1 year since Rebecca had asked for an open marriage. 1 year since my life had detonated. I thought about the man I'd been then. Desperate, confused, willing to accept scraps of affection from someone who'd already checked out. I didn't recognize him anymore. That man had died in a Holiday Inn near base. This man, the one I was now, he was stronger, clearer. He knew his worth. He knew that love without respect was worthless, that loyalty mattered, that some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. I finished the boat in October, 26 feet, mahogany and oak, built entirely by hand in my garage over 9 months. I named her Second Wind, launched her at Point Defiance Marina on a cold Saturday morning. Angela was there. Lily flew up from Portland. Tommy and Rachel drove over from Denver. Even Dr. Chen came, bringing champagne for the christening. We took her out on Puget Sound. The water was rough, but she handled beautifully. As we cut through the waves, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness exactly, not joy, just peace. The quiet certainty that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, that I'd survived, that I'd chosen myself. That I'd let go of someone who didn't value me and found someone who did. Rebecca texted that night, "Heard you launched your boat. Congratulations. Thank you. You doing okay?" "I'm good. Really good. I'm glad. I mean that. I know. Me too. Take care of yourself, Michael. You too, Becca." That was the last time we spoke. Sometimes I still think about her, about what we had, about what we lost. But mostly I think about what I found. I found that I was stronger than I thought. That I could survive betrayal and come out better on the other side. That love isn't enough if it's not paired with respect and choice and honesty. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone you love, because staying would destroy you. I'm 53 now. I've been divorced for 18 months. I'm dating a woman who makes me laugh and challenges me and chooses me every single day. I built a boat with my own hands. I help other veterans navigate the wreckage of their marriages. I talk to my daughter twice a week, and we're closer than we've ever been. I run every morning. I work with wood every afternoon. I sleep well at night. I'm not the man I was when Rebecca asked for an open marriage. That man wanted to be chosen so badly, he was willing to accept anything. This man knows that being chosen is worthless if the person choosing doesn't value what they're choosing. This man knows his worth. And he won't settle for less than he deserves. Not ever again. The night after we launched Second Wind, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed in my apartment, Angela breathing softly beside me, and I thought about the journey that had brought me here. Not just the divorce, not just Rebecca's betrayal, but the whole arc of my life. 19 years old, dirt poor in West Virginia, joining the Marines because it was either that or the coal mines. Boot camp at Parris Island, where drill instructor Staff Sergeant Morrison, no relation, had broken me down and rebuilt me into something harder, stronger, more disciplined. My first deployment to Iraq in 2003. I was 24 years old. I remember the heat, the way it felt like breathing through a furnace, the way sand got into everything, your boots, your weapon, your food, your soul. I remember my first firefight in Fallujah, the way time slowed down and sped up simultaneously, the way training took over and my body moved before my brain could process what was happening. I remember being terrified and exhilarated and alive in a way I'd never been before. I came home different from that deployment. Rebecca noticed. She tried to talk to me about it, but I didn't have words for what I'd seen, what I'd done, what had been done to people around me. So I stayed quiet, went back to work, deployed again 8 months later. That became the pattern. Deploy, come home, adjust, deploy again. Each time I came back, the gap between who I was over there and who I was supposed to be here got wider. Each time Rebecca tried to bridge that gap, and each time I let her believe she could. Afghanistan in 2009 was the worst. We were in Helmand Province. My squad was doing route clearance, looking for IEDs. We'd found 3 that day, disabled them, felt good about ourselves. On the way back to base, we stopped to help what looked like a broken-down truck. Turned out to be an ambush. Taliban fighters in the buildings on both sides. RPGs, AK-47s, the whole deal. My corporal, Danny Reeves, 22 years old from Ohio, took a round in the neck. Bled out in my arms while I tried to stop it, tried and failed. I got a Bronze Star for what happened next. For leading my guys out of the kill zone, returning fire, calling in air support, getting everyone else home alive. But I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like I'd failed Danny, failed his parents, failed his girlfriend, who he'd shown me pictures of every single day. Her name was Christine. She wore a blue dress in his favorite photo. I went to the funeral when I came home on leave. Christine was there in a black dress. She didn't recognize me. Why would she? I was just another Marine in dress blues, just another reminder of what she'd lost. Rebecca was 6 months pregnant with Lily when I came home from that deployment. I'd been gone for 14 months, missed the whole pregnancy except for grainy video calls where the connection cut out every 3 minutes. I walked in the door and there was my wife, huge with our child, and I felt like I was looking at a stranger, or like I was a stranger. Like I'd been gone so long I'd forgotten how to be a husband, how to be gentle, how to exist in a world where people weren't trying to kill you. Lily was born 6 weeks later, July 15th, 2010, 7 pounds, 3 ounces. She had Rebecca's eyes and my nose. I held her in the hospital and felt terror unlike anything I'd felt in combat. Because in combat, I knew the rules. I knew my training. I knew what to do. But with this tiny human in my arms, I had no idea. No idea how to keep her safe. No idea how to be a father. No idea how to love something so completely that losing it would destroy you. I deployed again when Lily was 8 months old. Rebecca cried when I left, asked me why I kept volunteering for deployments, why I couldn't just do my time stateside, take a training billet, be home with my family. I told her it was my duty, told her my guys needed me, told her I was making the world safer for Lily. All of that was true. But the real truth, the truth I couldn't say out loud, was that I didn't know how to be home anymore. Didn't know how to be in a world that wasn't dangerous. Didn't know how to turn off the part of my brain that was always scanning for threats, always ready for violence. Over there, that vigilance made sense. Over there, it kept people alive. Here, it just made me exhausting to be around. I missed Lily's first steps. Rebecca sent me a video. 12 months old, wobbling across the living room into Rebecca's arms. I watched it on a laptop in a forward operating base in Kandahar and felt something crack inside my chest. That's what the deployments cost me. Not bullets or bombs, moments. Irreplaceable, unrepeatable moments with my daughter, with my wife, with the life I was supposedly fighting to protect. I came home from that deployment different again, quieter, more distant. I started having nightmares. Not every night, but enough. Danny Reeves bleeding out, buildings exploding, children caught in crossfire. I'd wake up shouting, sometimes swinging. Once I almost hit Rebecca. She'd been trying to wake me up, and I'd come up with my fists raised, thinking she was an enemy. The look on her face, pure terror, terror of me. That's when I knew I needed help, but I didn't get it, not then. The Marines didn't really do mental health back then. You were strong or you were weak. You handled it or you didn't. And I'd always been someone who handled it, so I pushed it down. Deployed 3 more times over the next decade. Iraq again, Afghanistan again, Syria for 8 months. Each deployment, I told myself it was the last one. Each time I came home, I told Rebecca I was done. And each time, 6 months later, I'd volunteer for another rotation. Why? Because I was good at war. I understood it. I could control it, or at least my small piece of it. I couldn't control my marriage. Couldn't control my daughter growing up without me. Couldn't control the nightmares or the hypervigilance or the feeling that I didn't belong anywhere except on patrol in some hostile territory where the rules made sense and your value was clear. You kept your guys alive. You completed the mission, simple, clean. Unlike everything else in life. I retired in 2022, 23 years of service. Master Sergeant, honorable discharge. 3 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts, a combat action ribbon, more unit citations than I could count. I came home to Tacoma expecting to finally be the husband and father I'd always promised to be. Expected Rebecca to be relieved. Expected Lily, who was 21 by then and finishing her undergrad, to be excited to have her dad around. But I'd been gone too long. The life they'd built didn't have space for me. Not because they didn't love me, but because they'd learned to live without me. They'd had to, and now here I was, this permanent presence in the house, and nobody knew what to do with me. I didn't know what to do with myself. For 33 years, someone had been telling me where to go, what to do, what my purpose was. Now, nothing. Just empty days and a wife who'd forgotten how to be married to someone who was actually there. That's when I started therapy. Not because I wanted to, but because Rebecca suggested it. Gently, carefully. The way you'd suggest something to a live grenade. She said I seemed angry all the time, seemed on edge, seemed like I was waiting for something bad to happen. She wasn't wrong, I was waiting. Because in my experience, something bad always happened eventually. That's what 33 years of military service teaches you. Constant vigilance. Trust no one completely. Always have an exit strategy. Great for staying alive in a war zone. Terrible for staying married. Dr. Chen helped. She understood military culture. Understood trauma. Understood that I wasn't broken, just trained for a reality that no longer existed. She taught me breathing exercises. Taught me how to ground myself when the flashbacks came. Taught me that vulnerability wasn't weakness. That asking for help was actually a sign of strength. I started to believe her. Started to open up to Rebecca. Started to think maybe we could find our way back to each other. That's when she asked for the open marriage. Right when I was finally doing the work. Right when I was finally becoming someone who could be present, who could be emotionally available, who could be the partner she deserved. That's what made it hurt so much. Not just the betrayal, but the timing. Like she'd waited until I was finally healing just to show me it was too late, that the damage was already done, that she'd moved on while I was still trying to catch up to where we'd been 15 years ago. After the divorce was finalized, I went back through our old photos. There were boxes of them in the garage, physical photos from before everything was digital, our wedding in 2006. Rebecca in her white dress, me in my dress blues. We looked so young, so certain, so completely unprepared for what was coming. Photos of Lily as a baby, me in uniform holding her, looking terrified and proud. Photos of Christmases I'd missed, birthdays I'd been deployed for, school events where Rebecca stood alone in crowds of couples. One photo stopped me cold. Lily was maybe 7 years old, gap-toothed smile, holding up a drawing she'd made. It was our family. Rebecca, Lily, and a stick figure in camouflage off to the side, not touching the others, not part of the group. I'd been home when she drew it. Home, but separate. Already gone, even when I was there. That's what the deployments had done. They'd taught me to not attach, to not get comfortable, to always be ready to leave. And I'd gotten so good at it that I'd forgotten how to stay. I showed that drawing to Dr. Chen in one of our sessions after the divorce. "What do you see?" she asked. "I see a kid who knew her dad was never really there, even when he was." She nodded. "And what does that tell you about the marriage? That it was doomed from the start? That Rebecca was raising Lily alone for 20 years? That when I retired and tried to suddenly be present, it felt like an invasion? I wasn't coming home, I was moving into their space, space they'd learned to fill without me. So was Rebecca wrong to have an affair? Dr. Chen asked. I thought about it. Thought about all those years of being gone, of choosing deployment over family, of being easier to love from a distance. No, she was wrong to lie about it, wrong to ask for permission after she'd already done it. But was she wrong to want more than a marriage to a ghost? I don't know. Maybe that's the real question. Not whether she betrayed me, but whether I betrayed us first. Betrayed us every time I volunteered for another deployment. Every time I chose the Marines over my family. Every time I came home and couldn't figure out how to actually be home. Does that absolve her? No. Dr. Chen's voice was firm. You made choices based on who you were and what you understood at the time. You were doing what you thought was right, what you'd been trained to do, serve, protect, sacrifice. Those aren't bad values, they're just incomplete. Rebecca made a choice too. She chose betrayal over honesty. She chose comfort over courage. Both of you failed each other. The question now is, what do you want to do with that information? I want to stop carrying it. I want to forgive myself for being a bad husband. Forgive her for being a bad wife. And I want to build something new with someone who sees me as I am now. Not as who I used to be or who I might have been if I'd made different choices. Can you do that? I'm trying. Every day, I'm trying. That conversation happened in June. By July, I was dating Angela. By August, I'd stopped checking Rebecca's social media. By September, I'd stopped thinking about what might have been. By October, I'd built a boat and named it Second Wind, because that's what this was. A second chance at living. Tommy asked me once, after a few beers on his visit, if I thought I'd wasted my 20s and 30s in the Marines. If I regretted the deployments. I told him no. Told him I'd done important work, saved lives, served my country with honor. All of that was true. But the fuller truth was that I'd hidden in the Marines, hidden from the hard work of being a husband, being a father, being a man who had to navigate complicated relationships instead of clear chains of command. The Marines gave me purpose when I didn't know how to create purpose for myself. The Marines gave me identity when I didn't know who I was without a uniform. The Marines gave me a place to belong when I didn't know how to belong anywhere else. And that wasn't the Marines' fault. That was mine. For not doing the harder work of building a life outside of service. For not learning who Michael Brennan was when he wasn't Master Sergeant Brennan. For not figuring out how to be a whole person instead of just a good Marine. Rebecca suffered for that. Lily suffered for that. And eventually, I suffered for it too. Because when I finally did retire, when I finally did try to be present, I didn't know how. The muscles were atrophied, the skills were gone, I was a stranger in my own life. That's what therapy taught me. That's what the divorce forced me to confront. I'd spent 33 years being excellent at one thing and terrible at everything else, and when the one thing ended, I had nothing left. No tools, no strategies, no idea how to just be a person, a civilian, a husband, a father who was actually around. I had to learn all of it from scratch at 51 years old. Had to learn how to have a conversation that wasn't mission-focused. Had to learn how to resolve conflict without clear rules of engagement. Had to learn how to love someone without the safety net of deployment, without the excuse of duty, without the shield of service. Angela helped with that. Not by fixing me. I wasn't broken, but by showing me what it looked like to be in a relationship with someone who chose it actively every day. She didn't need me to protect her. She'd been a combat medic. She could protect herself. She didn't need me to provide for her. She had her own career, her own money, her own life. What she wanted was partnership, companionship, someone to share the daily small things with, someone to laugh with, someone to build something with that wasn't based on need or duty or fear of being alone. That was new for me. Rebecca had needed me, at least at first, needed my stability, my income, my presence, even when that presence was mostly absence. There was security in that need. It meant I mattered. It meant I had a role. But with Angela, I didn't have a role. I just had myself. And that was either enough or it wasn't. Turned out it was enough, not because I was special or fixed or had it all figured out, but because I was willing to show up honestly, willing to say I don't know, willing to be imperfect and keep trying anyway. We took it slow, Angela and me. No rushing into anything. We were both too old and too scarred to pretend this was easy. First 3 months we just dated. Dinners, movies, hikes, conversations that lasted until 2 in the morning. She told me about her ex-husband, about their 20-year marriage that had ended when he'd left her for a younger woman. Told me about the rage she'd felt, the shame, the sense that she'd wasted her best years on someone who hadn't valued her. I told her about Rebecca, about the open marriage request, about feeling like I'd failed at the one thing I'd thought was permanent. We compared scars, not literally, though we both had those too. Figuratively, the marks left by betrayal, by disappointment, by learning that the stories we tell ourselves about our lives aren't always true. She'd thought she had a solid marriage. Turned out her husband had been unhappy for years and just hadn't said anything. I'd thought I was serving my family by serving my country. Turned out I was just avoiding the harder work of being present. We'd both built lives on foundations that weren't as solid as we'd believed, and we'd both had to learn how to rebuild. Month 4, she met Lily. I was nervous about it. Lily had made her position on Rebecca clear, team dad all the way, but that didn't mean she was ready for me to move on. We met for brunch at a place in Portland where Lily was finishing her master's degree. I watched them size each other up. Angela, confident and warm. Lily, protective and cautious. They talked about social work, Angela's kids, what it was like to grow up as a military kid. By the end of brunch, they were laughing together. Lily pulled me aside when Angela went to the bathroom. "She's good for you, Dad. You seem lighter. I like her. You sure? I'm sure. And Dad, I'm glad you're choosing yourself. Took you long enough." Month 6. Angela's kids met me. Her son David, 28, worked in tech in San Francisco. Her daughter Jennifer, 31, was a teacher in Spokane. They were both polite but clearly protective of their mom. I got it. I'd be the same way if Lily brought home a divorced veteran with PTSD. We had dinner at Angela's house. I told them about my service, told them about the boat I was building, told them I wasn't trying to replace their father, just trying to be a good partner to their mother. David asked me directly, "You going to hurt her? Because she's been through enough. No, I'm not. But I can't promise everything will be perfect. I can only promise I'll show up and be honest. That's all any of us can do. He nodded. Fair enough. Month 9. Angela asked me to move in with her. She had a house in University Place, bigger than my apartment, with a garage I could use for woodworking. I said yes. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to. Because waking up next to her felt right. Because building a life with her felt possible in a way building a life with Rebecca never had. We moved my stuff in on a Saturday. Tommy and Rachel helped. Lily drove up from Portland. We ordered pizza, drank beer, assembled furniture. It felt like family. Chosen family. The kind that shows up because they want to, not because they have to. That night, after everyone left, Angela and I sat on her back porch, our back porch now. It overlooked a small yard with fruit trees, apple and cherry. The sun was setting. She leaned against me. You good? She asked. Yeah, I'm good. You sure? This is a big step, I'm sure. I've spent enough of my life not being sure, not trusting myself, not knowing what I wanted. I know what I want now. This, you, us. She kissed me. Then we went inside and started the next chapter. Together. November came and I realized I hadn't thought about Rebecca in weeks. Not with anger, not with regret, not with anything really. She'd become a character in a story I used to tell myself about who I was. But I wasn't that person anymore. That person had been desperate for validation, desperate to be chosen, desperate to matter. This person knew he mattered, knew his worth wasn't dependent on someone else's ability to see it, knew that being alone was better than being with someone who made you feel alone. I ran into her father, Edmund, at the grocery store in December. He was 74 now, moving slow, looking tired. Michael, I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry. Thank you. How are you doing? Getting by. Rebecca's mother passed in September. Heart attack. Quick. I'm sorry to hear that. She was a good woman. She was. He hesitated. I want you to know, I never agreed with what Rebecca did, what she asked of you. You deserved better. I appreciate that. You were a good husband, a good father. You served your country with honor and you tried your best with a marriage that maybe wasn't meant to last. That's all any man can do. We shook hands. He walked away. I stood there in the produce aisle and felt something lift. Closure maybe. Or just confirmation that I'd done what I could, that the failure wasn't entirely mine. Christmas that year was different. Angela and I hosted. Lily came up from Portland with her boyfriend, James, a social worker she'd been seeing for 6 months. Tommy and Rachel flew in from Denver. Angela's kids came with their partners. We filled the house with noise and laughter and the smell of roast turkey. We played games, told stories, argued about politics in the way families do when they care enough to engage. It felt real, solid, like something I could trust. Lily cornered me in the kitchen while I was making coffee. You look happy, Dad. I am. Like really happy. Not just okay. Actually happy. Yeah, I really am. Good. You deserve it. We all do. Everyone deserves to be chosen, to matter, to be seen. She hugged me. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. And I'm proud of you. For what? For knowing when enough was enough. For choosing yourself. For building something new instead of staying in something dead. That takes courage. The new year came. 2025. I was 54 years old. I'd been divorced for almost 2 years, felt like a lifetime and yesterday simultaneously. On New Year's Day, I went down to the marina where Second Wind was docked. It was cold, grey, the kind of Pacific Northwest morning where you can't tell where the water ends and the sky begins. I sat in the boat for a while, just sat, thought about the journey that had brought me here. From that October morning when Rebecca asked for an open marriage to this moment, sitting in a boat I built with my own hands. In a life I'd rebuilt from scratch. I thought about the guys I'd served with who hadn't made it home. Danny Reeves, Staff Sergeant Mitchell Torres, Corporal James Washington, so many others. They'd given everything. And here I was, 54 years old, alive, healthy, with a woman who loved me, and a daughter who respected me and friends who showed up. What right did I have to complain about a failed marriage when so many better men than me never got the chance to have any marriage at all? But Dr. Chen's voice was in my head. Survivor's guilt doesn't honor the dead. Living well does. Living fully. Choosing joy. Choosing love. Choosing yourself. That's how you honor their sacrifice. By not wasting the life they died protecting. I started the engine. Took second wind out onto Puget Sound. The water was choppy, but she handled it beautifully. I'd built her well. Built her to last. Built her to weather storms. Kind of like I was rebuilding myself. When I got back to the dock, Angela was waiting. She had 2 travel mugs of coffee. I thought you might be out here. You know me pretty well. I'm learning. That's the thing about starting over later in life. You get to be known by someone who sees who you actually are, not who you used to be, or who they hope you'll become. We sat on the dock, watched the gulls, drank our coffee. This is good, I said. What is? This, us, the quiet. Yeah, it is. I used to think happiness had to be loud, had to be constant excitement or grand gestures or proof that you were living right. But this is better. This quiet contentment, this peace. She leaned her head on my shoulder. This is love. Real love. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. That just is. I wanted honesty and freedom. Rebecca gave both to another man, and in doing so, she gave me something better. She gave me myself back. She gave me the gift of letting go, of starting over, of learning that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing, because it forces you to become who you were always supposed to be. I'm 54 now. I live with a woman I love who loves me back. I built a boat with my own hands. I help other veterans navigate the wreckage of their marriages. I talk to my daughter twice a week. I sleep through the night more often than not. I'm learning to be gentle with myself, to forgive my younger self for not knowing what I didn't know, to accept that I did the best I could with the tools I had. So no, I don't regret any of it. Not the marriage, not the deployments, not the betrayal, not the divorce, not the pain, because all of it led me here, to this moment, to this life, to this man looking back at me in the mirror who finally likes what he sees, who finally understands that being strong doesn't mean never breaking. It means breaking and choosing to rebuild. It means surviving the worst day of your life and deciding to have another day anyway. It means learning that love isn't about holding on tight to someone who's already let go. It's about knowing when to release your grip, when to walk away, when to choose yourself. And that's worth everything.